Hi, everyone. If you're watching this right now, stop what you're doing because I need to tell you something about that person. The one who's been on your mind lately, the one you've been trying not to think about. There's something happening, something shifting in the space between you, and you need to hear this. Welcome back. It's Anna. And I know why you clicked on this video. You've been feeling it, haven't you? That strange pull, that sense that something's about to change with them. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't, but really listen to yourself as we move through this. Let me ask you something. Have you noticed in the last few days or weeks this weird awareness of someone? Like they keep popping into your thoughts at random moments. You'll be doing something completely unrelated and suddenly there they are in your mind. Maybe you've been seeing their name places or things that remind you of them. Or you keep almost reaching out but stopping yourself. It can feel like this invisible thread pulling at you. And some people, they try to ignore it. They tell themselves it doesn't mean anything. But what if it does mean something? Just not what you think? Here's what I'm sensing. You may be in a moment right now where someone from your past or someone in your present who's been distant is going through their own internal shift. And that shift, it's bringing them back to thoughts of you, not because you're doing anything, but because they're processing something they need to resolve. Let's pause for a moment and really sit with this. Some people experience this as a growing awareness that closure is possible, that a conversation they've been avoiding might actually happen. And it's scary, honestly, because you don't know what they'll say. You don't know if it'll be what you've been hoping for. But hold on. Let me slow down for a second because this is important, really important. This reflection invites you to consider, what are you actually waiting for from this person? Is it an apology? Is it acknowledgement? Is it just them seeing you again? Because whatever it is, you need to be clear with yourself first. Now, here's where it gets interesting. When someone realizes they need to come back to a situation they left unresolved, it rarely happens overnight. It's a process. They go through phases: denial, justification, and then eventually, if they're doing their own work, awareness. It's possible the person you're thinking of is in that awareness phase right now, where they're starting to see their part in what happened, where they're starting to feel, maybe I handled that wrong. In some situations, this leads to them reaching out. A text message you weren't expecting, a call, a conversation that starts with, I've been thinking about you. Have you been feeling like that might be coming? Comment below if this is resonating with you. Let me give you a real moment. You're sitting somewhere. Maybe at home is less than #0. 5# is greater than maybe at work. And your phone buzzes. And for a split second before you look, you think, what if it's them? And then it's not. And there's this weird mix of relief and disappointment. Some people have been living in that space for weeks, months even, half hoping, half dreading, not sure which outcome they actually want. This reflection invites you to get honest with yourself. Do you actually want them to come back? Or do you just want them to feel sorry? Do you want reconciliation? Or do you just want validation that you mattered? There's no wrong answer, but you need to know your answer. Here's what I'm seeing for some of you. There's been this pattern of you giving people too many chances, of accepting apologies that weren't really apologies, of letting people back in before they've actually changed. And maybe this time needs to be different. It's possible someone is coming back. It's possible they are feeling regret, but you remain in control of what happens next. You get to decide if their apology, if they offer one, is enough. You get to decide if you're even available for that conversation. Trust your inner knowing on this. Let me ask you something else. Have you been rehearsing conversations in your head, playing out different scenarios of what you'd say if they reached out? Some people experience this as this need to prepare, to have the perfect response ready. But what if the conversation doesn't go the way you've imagined at all? What if they surprise you? What if you surprise yourself? In some situations is less than #0. 5# is greater than the actual conversation. Is nothing like what you rehearsed. And that can be disorienting, but it can also be freeing, because it means you get to respond authentically in the moment, not from a script. Now I want to talk about something that might be uncomfortable. The apology you've been waiting for, it might not look the way you expect. It might not be some grand gesture. It might not even include the words, "I'm sorry." Some people apologize through actions, through showing up differently, through acknowledging, even indirectly, that they see things differently now. You may notice, if this person does come back, that their energy is different, softer, more hesitant. Like they're testing the waters to see if there's still space for them in your life, how you respond to that. That's entirely up to you. Let's sit with something for a moment. There's this idea that closure has to come from the other person, that you need them to give you something before you can move on. But what if that's not true? What if you can create your own closure? What if you can decide, with or without their apology, that you're complete with this situation? Some people are experiencing right now this realization that they don't actually need what they thought they needed, that they've already healed enough to be okay either way. Is that where you are? Or are you still waiting? Comment and let me know. I really want to hear where you're at with this. Here's what happens when someone starts to come back into your awareness. Old feelings resurface. Things you thought you'd processed, they come up again. And it can feel like, I thought I was over this. But maybe it's not about being over it. Maybe it's about being ready to meet it differently this time. It's possible that if this person does reach out, you'll respond from a place of strength instead of need, from a place of clarity instead of hope. And that changes everything about the dynamic. You're not the same person you were when they left. Remember that. Let me give you another real moment. You're rereading old messages, looking back at conversations from months ago, trying to understand what happened, trying to see if you missed something. Some people do this as a way of keeping the connection alive, as a way of not fully letting go. But what if you're actually looking for permission to close that chapter? This reflection invites you to consider, what would it take for you to feel complete with this person, regardless of whether they come back or not? Now, here's something I need you to understand. If someone does come back, if they do offer an apology, you don't owe them forgiveness. You don't owe them another chance. You don't owe them anything. An apology, when it comes, is for them. It's their way of processing their own guilt or regret. What you do with it, that's entirely your choice. In some situations, accepting an apology and moving forward together makes sense. In others, accepting it and still choosing distance is the healthier path. You get to decide. You remain in control. I feel like some of you have been holding your breath, waiting for this moment, waiting for them to acknowledge what happened. And I'm not sure why, but I feel like that waiting might be coming to an end soon. Not because I can predict the future, but because you're starting to feel ready one way or another for resolution. It's possible they will reach out. It's possible you'll finally have that conversation, but it's also possible the resolution comes from within you, not from them. Both are valid, both are complete. Let me ask you this. What are you afraid will happen if they don't come back? What does that mean about you, about the situation, about what happened? Some people experience this fear as proof that they did something wrong, that they weren't enough. But what if their absence has nothing to do with your worth and everything to do with their own capacity? People come back when they're ready, or they don't, and neither outcome defines you. Here's what I'm seeing. For some of you, there's been this quiet hope that reconciliation is possible, that things could go back to how they were. But this reflection invites you to consider, do you actually want to go back? Or would you rather move forward either with them in a new way or without them entirely? It can feel like the idea of them coming back is more appealing than the reality might be, because the reality includes all the reasons things didn't work before, unless something fundamental has changed. Has it? Would you even know? Let's talk about what happens when someone actually does apologize, when they come back and say the words you've been wanting to hear. There's often this moment of deflation, like, oh, that's it? Because an apology, even a sincere one, doesn't erase what happened. It doesn't undo the hurt. It doesn't automatically rebuild trust. What it does is it creates an opening, a possibility, and then you have to decide if you want to walk through that opening or not. You may notice, if this happens, that your feelings are more complicated than you expected. Relief mixed with caution, hope mixed with skepticism, and that's okay. That's actually healthy. Now I want to ask you something important. What would it mean for you to forgive this person? Not for them, but for yourself. What would it feel like to release the weight of what happened? Some people think forgiveness means letting someone back in, but it doesn't. Forgiveness can be, I release you from owing me anything, and I release myself from needing anything from you. It's possible that's the resolution you're actually moving toward, not reconciliation, but release. Does that feel true for you? Here's what I need you to hear. Whether this person comes back or not, whether they apologize or not, you're going to be okay. You've already survived the hardest part. You've already done the work of processing, healing, moving forward. If they show up now is less than #0. 5 hashes greater than, it's an addition to your life, not a completion of it. You're already whole. This reflection invites you to remember that, to not give them more power over your peace than they deserve. Let me give you one more real moment. You're going about your day and suddenly you feel it. This tightness in your chest when you think about them. This unresolved tension that sits right there, waiting. Some people carry that for years. But what if you didn't have to? What if you could set it down right now? regardless of what they do or don't do, what would it take for you to choose your own peace over their validation? Comment below and tell me, what's the one thing you're still waiting to hear from this person? Before we close, I want to leave you with this. People come back into our lives for different reasons. Sometimes to reconcile, sometimes to seek forgiveness, sometimes just to ease their own conscience. Your job isn't to figure out their reasons. Your job is to be clear about your own boundaries, your own needs, your own truth. If they come back, meet them from a place of wholeness, not from a place of lack. And if they don't, know that you're still complete without them. So here's what I want you to do. After this video, take a quiet moment and ask yourself, what do I actually need to feel complete with this situation? And if the answer is something only you can give yourself, give it to yourself. Don't wait for them. You remain in control. You have the power. And whatever happens next, you'll handle it. Thank you for being here. Thank you for trusting yourself enough to listen. I'll see you in the next one. Take what resonates and trust your inner knowing.